Oh, you actually followed me.
Okay. Should we go or?
So the most interesting part was that when this girl said, "You are actually following me," because being followed is so kind of found in our colloquial speech that it means that following on Twitter, that she simply was astonished because of that. So this is how our life actually is seen in this real perspective, but actually it's not a problem at all. So this is a lifestyle we are having right now, and it's quite okay. And who knows that where we will go, because everything is changing so fast. So new technologies, new social networks, new foundings. So maybe in a year or two, I couldn't show this video to this presenter because it could mean nothing at all. So right now I'm going to talk about little about the numbers, the statistics we are having right now in Georgia regarding the digital space. It's a little bit boring, I believe, in your case, because some of you don't like numbers. But this is, I believe, it's a good information to know, just to found our other assumptions about it. So this is just kind of global internet statistics. Actually, at this very moment, we are. It shows that we are having 28.4% of penetration. It means that 28.4% of the population has access to the internet. But it's not quite correct, because it actually counts the number of unique IPs. But in the Georgian way of having internet is just to share one IP. And it's far bigger numbers than it is right now. The most important thing is the integration in social networks. You can see that right now we have 1,160,000 Facebook subscribers. Actually, this is the biggest social network in case of Georgia. It's 25% of the population, 1/4 of the population are presented on Facebook, and this number actually increases. So this is the general, I just wanted to underline the velocity of how internet penetration increases. So this is the population grouped by continents, and average annual increase rate is 47%. So according to these numbers, in a very short time, the whole world will be connected to the internet. And so it's a big place, big audience. And this is why I'm showing this, because it is a place when if you don't like the number right now, eventually everyone would actually appear and have the position there. So this is Facebook statistics. Simply what increase we have since 2012 to this date. So this 434,000 users added to Facebook. These are actually the active users and not the zombies.
Is the ad number give you the second?
I can't tell you by user base, because this information is not public. When we actually have this Facebook information, we get the data from Facebook advertising platform. But what I can actually tell is that by alexa.com, Anna Klasnik is in top 20. This top 20 visited pages in Georgia. First is Facebook, then comes Google, and after that there is somewhere nearby. So
So
people
it's
actually go.
popular.
It is also popular, but what we actually know is we could not check it ourselves, but we had we've been presenting conference in Lithuania a month ago, this mobile and web developers conference, and there were guys from Daxei and Lasniki, and when we were talking about it, they simply admitted that Georgia was on Facebook and not on Lasniki. So this is the female-male ratio, and the age. Maybe it is also interesting because for journalists, when it's my personal point of view, that when we are actually doing some copyright, planning some marketing campaigns, we actually simply base everything upon the target audience we have. So the same situation, I believe, is in regard to journalism, because there were questions I don't know what actually, when there was a speech about CEO and how you can write your articles the way it could be searched better on the internet. So there is two main points. First, you are making your articles search engine friendly. But the most important part is you are making your articles user-friendly, because you should use words and sentences that is closer to the target audience. So I'm not talking about this from the perspective of journalists, because I don't have experience, but I'm talking about from the perspective of a marketer, because when we are actually planning the campaigns and when we are choosing copyrights and words, we actually anticipate everything. This just to get the point to the audience very well. To simply highlight what kind of situation we have. First of all, I want to talk about the corporate side. How corporations? I won't call it corporations, because Georgian corporations are not corporations at all; they are companies. What kind of positions they have on internet, what they are using, and how they manage everything this, and why we actually personally in Livingston we need employees with the skills from technical side, along with the skills from journalism and from marketing and advertising perspective. Maybe you've heard and you've been watching all the experience of company wars on Facebook, when they were actually competing with each other for likes, etc. So in this case, what we actually see on Facebook, we have our own analytic tool when we calculate some stuff, but it's in-house. But we have some public information as well. All top players in industries like banks and finance, telecom, insurance, retail, etc., etc. All of them have positions on Facebook, and they use it quite well. Maybe they're making some mistakes, etc., etc. But actually, for this moment, it is they're one of main communication channel with the audience. If we take, I can bring the examples of TBC Bank and Geocell. When we were kind of calculating the number of requests to customer service, it actually appeared that Facebook is very close to the phone call request number. So, and phone call requests are kind of on the same level, while Facebook communication actually increases. And also important part is that when these companies post something on their Facebook walls, it is not the way that they can. So it is their official response to certain things, and it's not the way that they can simply say later that it's a kind of mistake of our staff and that way. So they look after their Facebook pages and social presence very carefully, because it actually is not officially, but it is their official communication channel. So this is simply the media statistics. Actually, most popular right now are TV shows and TV channels. They actually have a very they compete with each other on Facebook. When one has more likes than the other, they make a screenshot and post on their wall and say that today we are better than the other guys, and after that they run the Facebook ad campaign and they are forward. So I just...
Does this statistic include like the bot likes as well? So, for example, Chemito Kalevi, this show has a practice to buy likes, or GDS, for example.
Actually, if you actually, we can kind of assume that, because there are some kind of stipulations on the chart that, for instance, these guys have about 500 likes per day, and suddenly they appear to have 10,000. So it's not logical this way. So this means that they use some tools, but after 2012's update, what Facebook did, they are actually cleaning the zombies. They are deleting non-active users. I believe they have policies 3 months time. So
every 3 months.
Yeah, they're checking, and they simply take out suspicious accounts, for instance, accounts that don't have more than 20 friends, or etc., etc. So they look at this situation quite. So I just wanted to highlight at this very moment that Facebook represents to be #1 social media channel in Georgia. At least what we actually observe for this moment. Regarding Twitter, we are not quite active. The most number of followers has one user, and it is about 36,000. And half of that are foreigners, because it's kind of Georgian touristic page. Regarding G+, we can say that this is only good to use for some SEO ranking. Your friends are not there, so you don't need to be there as well. And YouTube, LinkedIn are also quite popular. What's important right now is that we don't have official support from Google and official support from YouTube. So if you want to run Google AdWords campaign, you actually can't, because Google does not represent Georgian font as a normal font. They look at it as some kind of symbols, and they simply just shut down everything. This is concerned to the YouTube. If you want to run YouTube advertising campaign, you simply can't, because YouTube can't check the voiceover, Georgian voiceover. So we have actually some trouble, but some guys from Ministry of Economy, they are working in this regard, and we hope that in the meantime we won't have this problem. So why I'm talking about this Google and YouTube and why you could need it. For instance, there was a very interesting case regarding one guy who used Google AdWords campaign to get hired in one very famous advertising agency. It was German Rubicon, I believe. He ran Google AdWords campaign, and he put the names, he runs it, he chose the keywords, the names of the creative directors of this company. And when these guys were searching themselves to find how tough and cool guys they were, suddenly a Google AdWords appeared to them. Hi, Droga, it's fun to search yourself. but maybe you can use my Google AdWords skills for your campaign. So this guy got hired to this young and Rubicon for $6 just because he ran $6 amount of AdWords campaign. So this is a good example. You can use it, for instance, if you have blogs or if you have some articles on certain websites, you can use it in this creative way to increase the traffic, because today traffic is the first most important part, and after that you start thinking about retention and other digital parameters that I'm not going to get into details, but you can ask questions about it later. Regarding the mobile situation, this is also by Facebook. We actually have 124,000 iOS 1 devices and more 174,000 active Android devices. So mobile platforms are also very important, and this is also a great tool to be used for communications, for distribution, all kinds of data. And what's more important, there is a global statistics that in 2015, usage of mobile devices will kind of exceed the usage of desktops, because due to the tablets, etc., etc. And if we look at the stats, I'm not showing you right now, the production of PCs are kind of stagnating, and eventually they will go down because other devices are mostly produced. So this is also one small statistics from Top G. We could kind of synchronize with Alexa.com, but they look at other ways. If this green stuff, what we are having here are the media platforms, just the distribution of that can be used to distribute your kind of videos, content, etc., etc. So while you start, you don't need to use your own kind of links or your own websites. Maybe you actually need it, but you can start with other channels where most population is concentrated, and use backlinks to just move the traffic from that way backwards. So why is this a matrix case? First, when I started talking about, I was started talking about the beliefs I actually have, and our belief is that eventually all of us will end up in the digital space, and everyone, for instance, today we are having a mobile phone, so that's fine, that's okay, and everyone will need the digital space in the future. And that is how we actually look like when we are meeting Georgian companies. The guys who are actually making the decisions, they have a little bit lower computer literacy, and it is very tough to persuade them that, guys, you actually need this stuff, and you will eventually need it in 1 hour, 1 year, or 2. And why just wait for that moment? Just take this red pill and let's see where the rabbit hole goes. So this is some kind of idea from Neuromancer. So why companies actually need digital space, and after that I'm going to bring you some examples what we actually did with the data analytics and scrapping, how we integrated in our marketing campaign, and some other interesting information. So the main reason why companies and corporations need digital spaces for building brand image, for sales, to listen to their customers, because if your customers are not talking at your space, they are talking somewhere else, and you are simply missing it. You can't make decisions in real time, because you simply can't hear what problems they have and what actually they need. And distribution, the news to target audience, this is actually the general or what we do for our clients.
What is the usual strategy of Georgian corporation websites when they are hearing the things they don't want, when the people are talking about the bad things about the corporation?
Yes, it is quite a big problem. We actually had several of these kind of crisis issues. The first reaction from CEO of these companies, and these companies are not small, is simply to shut down everything. Just to turn off computers and not to hear and read everything this. And when we start explaining them that it won't change anything, simply you can't hear what they are saying, but they will continue talking about it, and they will continue talking about it more other on your place. So after that comes the biggest question. So what should we do? So our solution is in this regard this way. If there are some offensive words, this is under census, just we simply delete it. But if certain users have logical assumptions or ideas or problems, what we are doing is just telling them we want to help you, and we actually start move on to the crisis situation. If I can tell that in case of TBC Bank, we have created a crisis team.
No, they need this team because of this last advertisement.
Yes, at this very moment. If
Hard
you
time for them.
if you anticipate recent yesterday's situation, this crisis team actually is working right now. So they have crisis team from several departments, and in order to pass the information to the right person as soon as possible. So if some guys have problems with credits, problems with payments, their problems are solved in real time. And what's the most important is talking to the customers. So if you simply make this way and you say that I don't hear what you're telling, it's an option. But when you start going, just negotiating with them and talking with them, it always helps. At least, and the most important part is that when you solve their problems, they are so happy that they simply start posting that, thank you guys, I was very unhappy, but right now you solved my problem and thank you very much. And these guys do their job great. Okay, so just turn around the customers over to. But what's the most interesting thing is that Georgian companies are not using these digital channels for sales. And it appears that it's a very interesting tool, and I will bring you some examples in case of banks as well, how we started selling products on digital base. So I was hungry to pass this situation. What is important? Once again, I want to highlight that I'm talking from the scope of marketer and advertiser. But despite that, in our company, when we are hiring people, we actually need that they have copyright skills. They could kind of create very logical and interesting posts, and they should, what we call content managers, they should have some basic skills to kind of think about the talking points the companies should talk to their customers. So it's mostly kind of a journalistic work we actually do in this direction. But we are using it the other way for just supporting corporate interests.
Maybe they should listen to customers.
Yes.
Like journalists should listen to their...
Yes, this is, I believe that everyone should listen. If you have this kind of tools, you don't need more kind of trouble, you don't have much trouble. Maybe you had several years ago, because there are automated, you can actually with some kind of logical assumptions automate the process of listening and actually get the data what you want. Like it said that there are Google alerts and some other interesting tools that you actually can use on your own benefit. For instance, you put a keyword of your interest on Google Alerts, and I believe in 24 hours you simply get an email if this page, some information about this stuff was indexed in Google, and you go there directly. We actually do this stuff for corporate reputation management when we are listening to the names of some corporate heads and looking what people are talking about them. So why is digital important and what actually has been changed? Before that, our communication was kind of one-directional. You were watching television, you wanted to buy a product, you couldn't. You should have gone to some nearby store and buy it. But if you had some questions, maybe there was a phone number, maybe there wasn't. Maybe you called on that phone number, maybe it was too late and nobody answered. So presence of this existing web environment is that you are in constant communication with your customers. You are actually changing your ideas, your thoughts, your information, and but the important thing is that it is not this way two-directional. It is already this way. You are telling something, and all the customers are talking to each other about that, and this is the case, the problem TBC is having right now, that they did some stuff, and the reaction of these guys was not the reaction they actually, I don't quite said that they were not expecting that, but okay, let's leave it in this way. And the important thing that when we are highlighting the privacy situation was that what actually happens in internet will always stay in internet. It is not only in Vegas when something happens in Vegas and stays in Vegas. This is also a kind of a correlation of Maslow's hierarchy of needs with our digital space. And if you actually look at it, it is quite interesting point of view. I don't know if this is scientifically confirmed, but Google is actually used for just safety and physiological needs. So you are hungry, you are searching for the where is the best discount for Hinkali in Google, and you actually get swoop offers or something like that. But if you need some kind of social situation, you have Facebook for that. You upload your photos, some guys put likes, they comment, and you feel happy. So what is the most interesting thing about it is that just grabbing these fields of interest made these companies just the most richest ones in the world, and the other companies and startups, maybe they are already working about this stuff. They have the same potential, maybe even more, to when they just grab this line of the Maslow hierarchy to become at least the same the same level as we have right now.
Do you mean farmers in Georgia, Google, if they are hungry and where to have a cheaper Hinkali? That's what you're saying?
Actually, if you are searching for some kind of discounts, you actually Google it, or you Google everything. For instance, that's why it's a number 2 page visited by Georgian audience. And first is Facebook. I don't know, maybe just here we can use health problems. Maybe some people are searching it. Actually, they are searching. I just don't want to underline that all these categories are kind of the samely active and samely important for Georgian audience. But if we take the long tail model, we find out that if we group all these lines together, it's a big amount, and Google is used to get information about this interest. Okay. What's the important points that we are telling to our marketers and copywriters and content managers is that what we want them to believe and know during this period they're working with us, that digital is a channel that can be better used for communication. And before this, advertising and marketing was kind of a laser interruption. You were watching TV, you liked the movie you were watching, and suddenly, bang, and there is an advertisement that is 15 minutes long, and you simply don't want to continue that anymore. It's the same as with radios and billboards. That is actually not the good communication channels. So what we are telling them, and what the people who want to become digital copywriters, content managers, etc., they should know is that this is a channel that is assisting people with the communication with the corporations, and not just spamming them, and etc. The content they are producing should assist customers and kind of shorten the way from customer to the corporation. So this is a digital media. Okay. Okay. This is a list exactly what Georgian companies are using. Regarding the blog, I can give you the recent Geopedia from Geosal. That is very interesting technological blog. The same is this for electronics. It's quite interesting. So I will simply miss, and I will talk about these 2 points. We were talking about this data scraping and analysis, and it is not only important in regard with articles and advertisements. This is Nike Fuel Band. I don't know if you know what it actually is. You simply, it's a device, you put it on your hand, and it actually counts everything your physical operations, steps you make, calories you burn, and what you are actually doing. So this guy is actually created a product based on data, and it simply is collecting the data, nothing more. And it's visualizing it in a better way. And they created a platform where all these guys who are interested in sports, they can compete with each other. So I ran 5 kilometers, some guy ran 6, and next day I'm going to run more. So why it is important, why I'm underlining this is this data analysis and journalism, what you were calling, today, is important as a way that you can produce products based on the data. It's not about producing articles. It's about producing products that can be used with the data. So I'm just showing you our recent advertising example. We won on Minsk Advertising Festival Award for this campaign. This is TBC weather campaign. So what we actually did with it, we simply generated data from weather channel, AccuWeather, and we synchronized this weather information with the time user was sitting at the computer, and we created a database of copyrights, and user was getting the copy at that very moment. He was very vulnerable. For instance, when user was sitting at the computer at 5 a.m., he got the message that we don't know why you should need the bank at this very moment, but if we do, we have internet bank for you. So the next day, if it is snowing, the banner was telling that it's cold outside, don't go out, don't go to the bank, it's cold, use simply internet banking. It was raining the same, it was sunny, we were telling that what a beautiful day, why you should go to the bank and stay in the queue. Go outside, have fun, use internet banking. So this is also the other way that digital information, structural data can be used in this way.
I've been asking people this, and maybe you know the answer or can help me. I'm interested in finding out demographic of an audience online. Let's say around a particular website or a particular. For example, I think a common interest I think among media is for advertisers. Advertisers want to know where to put their money. But yet in Georgia, as far as I understand, there is no service like Nielsen that allows you to measure demographics specific service or activity, so that you can say like advertise with us because 59% of our target audience is female between the age of this and this, and like from my perspective, this has been the greatest challenge in understanding how best to advocate a specific issue or target a specific message, and where to put it and what time, etc. Is this data available? Is there a company that allows you to hook in and detect this? It's not Facebook.
Okay. Actually, regarding websites, there is no any companies that can provide this kind of data. Nobody can tell exactly, and they are telling to customers that they have some kind of ratios, but they don't have proof about it. What I can tell you, you simply, and this is a problem, we actually tried. We wanted to put our, we actually have the statistics and we do some kind of research in this regard. We wanted to mark all the websites with our listener, some kind of JavaScript that just gets the information, and this information is kind of connected with cookies. You simply won't get that information that this user is a woman, female, or male, but if you look the flow which sites this user is visiting, you simply can get very close understanding who is your audience. We have big problems. You can't get any data official. What you can use is Facebook, and you can just simply draw traffic from Facebook to your website, but it is not cheap.
And it's also the sample population it's biased towards people who are already on Facebook.
Yes, but population is big, and what we are actually doing is optimizing regarding dividing all this segment into very small segments. For instance, and it is also very important because you can calibrate your ads. We had this kind of case when we had a campaign for Volkswagen in Georgia. We simply changed colors. We put black advertising for men, pink for women. So those worked very well. But before that, we had on black, it didn't work with women. But Facebook users are vulnerable with ads, and when we measure the bounce rate and other parameters, so page visits, etc., it's not that they simply came and they went out. So Facebook is the best tool we are using.
What about the user-generated websites? Is there any, like, the good case on our space I was observing when you really live in Tbilisi, this website? Are the others and like the successful ones?
Actually, when you really live in Tbilisi, it wasn't quite consumer-generated website because there were certain group of people who actually. I'm not telling that they did a bad job. This is the same case when you really live in Berlin, I believe, and they took and kind of curated that information towards Georgian audience. We actually don't have, for this moment, SilkNet is planning to run a website that will be consumer-generated, fully consumer, this content will be consumer-generated. But I don't believe that it will work because when we are actually in search for good bloggers and content managers, and during the past 6 weeks, we could find only 2 of them, and one is working with us for this moment. Because
there are some sites, for example, this Utslam.com, It's the
I can't tell exactly because I knew the guy who actually was running this one, and he was talking that it was all his stuff. Maybe he's using some other people.
Because there are possibilities to register, post something, and if you don't post for several weeks, I think, so your registration will cancel. And also e-reporter, so they also have generated content.
Oh, great. So we are not alone in space.
Compared to Europe and Northern America, internet penetration in Georgia is like 2 times less or even more times less. Do you have any estimation, because you're working in this field, do you have any estimations when can like around 67% of Georgia go online? Or like,
actually, we are near 40% for this moment because I was showing that it was 28.4% of penetration, but actually it is, I believe, twice more on average because these neighborhoods are using only one IPs. So, and besides that, as I know that they have very good connection in regions, Tbilisi is fully, I don't know people if family has a computer, they have an internet. So it doesn't work the way. So, and the main kind of feeling of this penetration should happen on regard of these regions. And if we take Rustavi, Batumi, Kutaisi, these main cities, as the main cities, they also have very good quality of penetration.
And also, I put in line that they are working hard to sell cheap Android phones because in the regions, a lot of young people, they use cheap Android mobile phones to connect to internet. So I think this part, the audience in the regions are growing very fast because of it, something or mobile phones.
So but the interesting point is the Facebook. Is 1/4 of the population is only already on Facebook. So it's a good calibration point to find out what's the kind of average amount because about, I don't believe that half of the whole population should be using Facebook. So there is a very big kind of range which we can assume that they have this penetration. And they actually will update this data. It is from 2010. They haven't updated it. So, but I couldn't use assumptions with the wrong data. So this is the old data.